What's going on, everybody? It's Andy back with my weekly thoughts. This week, we're going to be talking about the Dallas Card Show. As I mentioned on last week's episode, Dallas Card Show was this weekend. And so I took off on Thursday morning from Oklahoma City, heading south. I ended up going to my brother's house and we hung out for a couple of hours, and then we ended up taking off to the show there on Thursday night for the preview night. So we get there and we set up and everything, and very light traffic on on Thursday night. Most of the dealers, I would say probably half of them, didn't show up for the Thursday night, so it was a little bit of a ghost town on Thursday night. So not a lot of action. Um, we ended up going and having dinner with John, who's one of my friends that sets up with us there at the show. Went to Texas Roadhouse, had a nice dinner, nice conversation, and we just called it a night. So we went back to my brother's house and got a good night's rest and ready to head out on Friday morning. Now Friday, interesting day because I'm guessing that a lot of people that are going to talk about this show are probably going to talk about the lack of attendance on Friday. Now there was reasons for that, so we'll get into those a little bit. The weather in Texas was not the greatest on Friday. Lots of rain, wind, a lot of possible severe weather in the surrounding areas. So I really think that affected the attendance quite a bit on Friday. And so when you hear people talk about Friday of this show, just a little context, the weather was bad. And I talked to, well, one of the guys that I set up with, and he had a really tough time getting there. And his hotel was not very far from the show. And it took him a pretty considerable amount of time to get there because there was definitely times throughout the day where the weather made travel very difficult. So I think on Friday what you saw at this show was the majority of people that were there were probably people that were staying in the hotel at the facility. So when you don't have a lot of outside traffic coming in, that's it's going to be a little bit slower. So I think that's what happened on Friday, and it was slow for a Dallas Card Show Friday. No doubt about it, but I think there was, good reasons for that. Um Friday was fun. It was fun for me even though it was slow. Like I as I talked about last week, my expectations are probably a lot different than a lot of people that set up at a card show. Like when I set up at a table at this show, I will put some cards out and I will put prices on these cards. I don't sell cards for a living, so I don't need to move the cards in the same way that a dealer that does sell cards for a living would need to. And my prices will oftentimes reflect that. The best way that I could put it is I will put a price on a card, and if somebody wants to get the card from me, they're gonna have to want the card more than I do. My motivation to sell any particular card varies, but oftentimes not super highly motivated. And I had a few sales at this show, nothing spectacular. Um, I think if any of the traditional dealers that do this for a living had the volume of sales that I had, they would have been very disappointed. But like I said, my expectations are totally different. I don't consider myself a dealer. I'm just a collector that just has a table, and it's fun to set up. It's fun to be able to talk to people. It's fun to have a place where, all my friends that are at the show can come hang out, take a seat, sit down and chat with us and just have a good time. So that's really my primary motivation. So on Friday, I got to, obviously my brother was there, and then I think I talked about this last week also, but my uncle, who has been out of the hobby for probably the last 20-25 years. Um, I can remember as a kid, like going to the 1990 national convention when it was in Arlington, Texas, with my uncle, and that was really my first exposure to a big time card show. So it was cool to kind of have it come full circle where he's been out of the hobby for such a long time, and I was it was kind of like I was getting to show him around at a big show, because it's totally different than card shows are way different. And I explained this to him, like I was like, there's probably gonna be a little shock factor because these shows are way different now than back when you attended them. So, he had some cards that he had, just had stored away in his closet for, the last 25 years or so. And so, we had a lot of fun going through some of that stuff. He was looking to move some of his stuff because, it was just taking up space. He doesn't really collect anymore. And this was a great opportunity, just to hang out. We got to move some of his cards, found some really cool stuff in there. Just, going through random boxes. Like when you're out of the hobby for 20-25 years, you've had this stuff just tucked away and it hasn't seen the light of day. So some really neat stuff. We found a credentials Antonio Daniels, and I was able to hook up my friend John, big Spurs collector. He wanted that card, so was able to get that to him. And he made some deals on a lot of lower end stuff that he'd just sitting in a box. So, but he had a blast. I think it was fun just to kind of it was fun for him, just to come up there, hang out with the guys, just kick back. We had a TV set up on the table that was directly across from us, so we were able to watch games and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And then also on Friday, that was the first day that Mike, baseball collector, Dave, Blue Jacket 66, and Dave's son, Caden, came to the show. Always a blast hanging out with those guys. Mike, Mike was a little under the weather. Um, he was, a little low on energy. He felt so. He thought it was going to be a good idea to just crawl underneath the table and just take a nap. So at one point I'd went to use the restroom, and I come back and there's somebody at the table. So, I'm walking up there to talk to them. And all of a sudden I feel something grab my foot from underneath the table. And I was like, what is going on? And everybody, they're all laughing because they knew Mike was under there. And I was just like, man, what is going on with this guy? He's underneath the table for real. So that was a lot of fun. I'm glad Mike started feeling better as the weekend went on, obviously. So, you know, that's just one of those things that happens at a show that you just can't, you can't put a price on all these moments. As far as Dave and Caden, man, always fun to see those guys. Caden, he had a killer show. He picked up a lot of neat stuff, a lot of Pokemon stuff, several, like, really unique Star Wars pieces. I'll just say pieces because I don't wanna spoil what what they actually got because I'm sure Dave might wanna show these things off on his channel. And, Mike had some awesome pickups as well. So I'll let those guys, talk about their stuff, but just a great time and just, seeing how much fun that that Caden was having at the show and just, he was just he felt just comfortable and right at home with everybody, and we just had a blast. And anytime I get to talk to Dave, that's just always a pleasure. Dave is he's full of knowledge, not just in the hobby, but just, just in life in general. So, I like to pick Dave's brain about various things, different different cards and stuff like that. And he's always teaching me something every time that I talk to him. So it was just really great, seeing those guys hanging out. And then got to talk to Chris and Christina from Card Ladder. They, recently moved to Dallas from Illinois I think it was a few months back. So, they're kind of, new to the city and state there. So they were, able to make it to this card show. So they came over and chatted with us a little bit, and they picked up a couple of 2015 Revolution basketball boxes from me while they were there. So greatly appreciate that. And I know they plan on opening those maybe in the next couple of days. I think they were gonna wait for I know Josh was gonna come into Dallas to watch a Mavericks game with them, and I heard them talking about this, on the crossover when I was listening to the replay this morning, and I think Josh wanted them to wait so he could, be there when they open those boxes. I know he enjoys that product as well and should be a fun rip. Hopefully, they pull a galactic or, a cool auto. I know Kobe has on card autos in there and Jokic rookie year. They're obviously big fans of Jokic. So hopefully they pull some monsters. That would be great. Saturday was a lot busier from a traffic perspective inside the show. Now, I don't when I'm set up, I typically don't walk the floor too much, to be honest. I just kinda like to, hang out. We had on Saturday, we had college football games going over there. We had, Mike rooting for TCU against Texas Tech, and, my buddy John that sets up with us, he's a big Texas Tech guy, went to school there, and so those guys, were going back and forth during that game. And then a little bit later on, we had the OU game on. OU unfortunately lost. So, that was a little bit of a bummer, but a lot of fun watching those games. Just sitting there talking cards, talking to people about cards, watching football. I mean, how could you not have a good time, right? So, but yeah, Saturday was it was busier from a people perspective. Like I didn't really talk to a lot of the dealers about, actual transactions. I would guess just from what I saw in our room, it seemed like there were fewer transactions, and obviously the present state of the economy has a lot to do with that. Um, I didn't actually see as many, or this is just me anyway. There wasn't as many people that came up to us trying to sell. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't any, but it wasn't as many as previous shows. So I don't really know as far as from a transaction perspective if this show was up or down. I'm sure a lot of other people can tell you their experiences, and I can only speak for myself. And to me, it was just a great time, great chance to see some of the guys and hang out, talk cards. Um, that's just kind of what it's all about for me. But yeah, I'm sure you'll hear a lot of people talking about the overall traffic of the show being down a little bit. So I just wanted to give a little context as to why, specifically on Friday that was the case. But anyways, great show. Looking forward to doing it again. So, all right, guys, that will be it for this week, and I will catch you on the next one.